Right, well, welcome along, everybody. If you haven't been to one of these before, Wargamer runs these live AMA events very regularly, mostly weekly these days. It's getting very exciting. And for us, these are an opportunity to do kind of some of the video interviews that we do with our friends and contacts and partners across the tabletop games industry anyway, but to do them in a way that includes you guys. It includes our community, that gives you the chance for you to ask the questions of our lovely guests. Partly because that's just a cool thing to do, and partly because, as I said before with these things, you guys often think of better questions than I do because you're not exhausted and drained and jaded and all of those sorts of things. So you're all so welcome to this AMA. Very briefly, just how that works. We're in a Discord stage channel right here. What that means is that there's a text chat feature. If you click on the speech bubble in the top right. I can't remember whether my camera's mirrored. In the top right of your screen is a speech bubble. If you click that, that will bring up the text chat. That is where we want your questions. So if you've got questions in your mind already for James, all about Fossilized Violence or our Salsorian games, or perhaps even Cyberpunk and The Witcher and all the other cool stuff that he does, get thinking of them, stick them in the chat, and I will ask them of him, and if they're polite, he'll answer them, and if they're not, he won't, and we'll just make an angry face instead. Deal.
Yeah, before I waste anybody's time, I can't answer any questions about 2077, any CDPR project, any Netflix collaboration. We can't do that. This is not the place for that, and they would kill me. That and I honestly don't know.
This is an important clarification, yes. Rob from our Talsorian Games is huddling in the corner, listening carefully to everything that's being said. So, the game is to get really cool answers from James, but mainly about Fossilized Violence today. So, once again, welcome. I think it's about time to get started. Get those questions into chat, please. But I will kick us off with, let's just get to know you a little bit, James. I've met you once. Lots of people in the audience won't have met you at all. So tell us a little about yourself. What's your history with our Talsorian Games? What have you worked on that folks will know about?
My history with our Talsorian Games is I've been working for them for 4 or 5 years-ish. I started working with them the year that was... Now, this is a little bit of pandemic brain, but I remember it as the year running into the pandemic, that year that was like 3 years. I was brought on initially to work on a Witcher project, but then I very quickly got put on Cyberpunk, and I ended up basically designing the entire system for Cyberpunk Red, managing its rules update from the 2020 edition to Cyberpunk Red. So that would be what people would know me for. And then I put out some books in the Witcher line, supplements. I did not work on the core book, but I worked on from Book of Tales forward in terms of releases. So Tome of Chaos and Witcher's Journal a little bit. The Monsters in Witcher's Journal, not the lovely writing. The lovely writing is not me. Anyway, other than that, I've worked on basically every... give me a moment. Every book on the Cyberpunk line, with a few exceptions. I didn't work on the latest solo mode. And I put out monthly DLCs, which I'm sometimes writing in. Sometimes we get awesome people from the community to write in, and sometimes Jay Gray is writing. Jay Gray and I are sort of like together thrusting the cyberpunk line forward. He is managing editor. I am a senior designer.
Yeah, the rules design dream team, the writer's room in that way. That is a lot of stuff, which can be summarized down to this chap is pretty much at the center of most of the rules design for Artosaurian's RPGs, which is it's great to have you here. Looking forward to getting some insights.
And I also run a company called James Hutt Games, where we are working on some other projects that will be coming out in the next couple of years that are more like new game systems. It's not going to be anything like any other game systems. That's the shtick over there. And for our Talsorian, in addition to doing all of this stuff, I'm so sorry I forgot the second half of my bio, we're working on Talsorian Presents, which will be our indie-owned creator line. We're going to work with outside creators. We're going to publish them. We're going to give them the best deal in the industry, and we're going to treat them like creators should be. And we're only going to do like 1 or 2 a year, so it's going to be.
I'm hoping
Nintendo's seal of quality thing. That's my goal. Nintendo's seal of quality. Anyway, we'll also be releasing new books in that line that are kind of one-offs, that are part of like what we want that line to become. And Fossilized Violence launches that new line. Had to get to it. Talk about it.
I didn't realize that Fossilized Violence is like the kickoff title for the Talsorian Presents program.
That's right.
So that's very interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff about Talsorian Presents that will be interesting to some of our audience here, because it is all about giving more opportunities for indie or even debut indie RPG creators the chance to shine. If their work is great, you help it happen. I want to come back to that once we've delved into Fossilized Violence a little bit, because it's really cool.
I think I see it as a springboard for creators that have they did the work of putting out their first book and it went well. And man, if they had backing, it could have gone even better. It's the springboard from you're publishing an indie press to, hey, you're in game stores nationwide. I think we need that in the industry. Anyway, I don't want to wax too poetic in that, because we'll lose people talking about publishing.
We won't lose people, but I'm conscious of we get 1 hour, and I want as much James Hutt wisdom as I can get on as many topics as possible. So we have got a couple of questions coming in the chat about Fossilized Violence, but before we get to those, they're a bit specific. So before we get to those, I want to ask you, what the hell is Fossilized Violence, right? We've talked about this before, but there's not an awful lot of information about the game just yet online. There's some really cool art. There's some general concept. But what is Fossilized Violence? What kind of game is it? What is it about? Who is it for? What's the pitch?
Fossilized Violence is a game about cavemen fighting dinosaurs in, the things we never got to do in real history, fight dinosaurs. It's set in the primeval supercontinent of Pangeon, which, just as a funny, the initial silhouette of Pangeon is I took Pangea and then I mirrored it and I flipped it upside down, and then I changed everything else. I put a giant volcano in the middle because it's dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And then I did everything, and then everything else was from scratch. Just as a funny in-joke when you get the book. But anyway, so it is a role-playing game. So I call it a double L, role-playing. In a way, it is more like it has a lot of... it's all about the dinosaur fighting. There are role-playing segments, but the rules treat those role-playing segments as things that should be timed and minimized and in character always. So it's during preparation of a battlefield where the GM is moving around plates and cups and trying to make a fantasy landscape, and they themselves are timed, by the way, for that. During that timer, the players can only speak in character. And then also during specific scenes during a travelogue, you can have in-character roleplay, which is also timed to about 7 minutes, I believe. It starts when somebody starts role-playing, and it ends after an idea finishes within that 7 minutes. So it can end kind of Coen Brothers style after somebody says, "My rock, heavy." And the 7 minutes is up. That's the end of an idea that has happened after 7 minutes of roleplay. That is the end of the scene. So it's trying to provide basically, this is not Dungeons and Dragons style. We're going to pretend to be our elf for an extended period of time. This is a lot more like let's get people together. Let's smash plastic dinosaurs around on a tabletop, and let's have a good time.
I mean, that's a very relatable like image, at least. You know, plastic dinosaur toys smashing together. This is what you do with them. I think a lot of people will be a bit surprised by the concept of a tabletop role-playing game where the actual role-playing a character takes place in limited small chunks of time that actually are timed. I want to come back to that timing thing because that is very unusual. But more pressingly, I guess, if that's only the minority of the game and the majority is those crazy fights, how do the fights work? Like, what is the game here? What systems do you use?
So the core systems of the game is you have a main die called a stat die. There are 3 stats in the game. There's attacking, defending, and using traits, which stand in for skills. Each person has difference in how big their attack die is, how big their defense die is, how big their trait die is. You choose it when you start your character, and you don't really get to improve it. And after that, so you add your stat die to whatever you're doing. Then you add a D4, which we call the D4 Fate. And whenever that D4 rolls a 4, you roll another D4 and you add it in. Other than that, the game is about manipulating these things called violence points, which modify attacks and defenses. And earning those violence points by doing fossilized moves, which are riskier versions of attacks. Things that could fail, but if they do succeed, have a benefit, and then they give you a violence point that you can use to then further augment an attack or defense. Gameplay-wise, if you roll 5 over your opponent's defense, you get a critical injury. If you roll 10 over their defense, you get a super critical injury. One of the big showcase features of Cyberpunk Red and The Witcher TTRPG are these things called critical injuries. And in those games, total, they have 5 critical injury tables. In Fossilized Violence,
He's counting live.
we have 28.
Good gravy. That's a lot of tables for specific people with wounds.
But I promise you don't have to look at all of them every combat. Each dinosaur gets its own unique critical table. That's one of the things that makes them special. It's on their page. And humans get 1 based on which of the 3 weapon type, bludgeoning, slashing, piercing. Each of those they have. And then the supercritical table that rules over all there's only one of those, and the super criticals are really good. They're like you're back at full hit points. You get a bunch of violence points. One of my favorite things about that supercritical table is it's all the stuff that other games won't let you do because it's too broken. But because of the hyper explosion sort of math of the D4, you can run these situations where it's fun to get two supercriticals in a combat. And you can be losing, get a supercritical, and then be on the path back to victory. The game is very, very violent. It's in the name, and very deadly to the player. Players only have 20 hit points, and thus you can keep track of their health with spin down dice if you play Magic the Gathering. That was intentional, and one of the cool parts about that is that because we're okay with players dying, we can have dinosaurs be as deadly as dinosaurs should be. So I like to think it's a lore accurate dinosaur game too, if we did fight dinosaurs. But it's also about dinosaur toys and not the fossil record. So there are things in here that are a little bit fun, a little bit wonky. Anyway, gameplay wise, that's the reasons you'd want to play. Customization wise, by the way, there's deep customization for your character. There are 140 gear options for you to fill out your character, and like in, I don't know, a game like Monster Hunter, for example, you are what you're wearing.
I was good at that. That's a pretty good segue, because I was going to ask, as soon as you started talking about each dinosaur having its own unique critical table for those injuries, immediately I'm thinking Monster Hunter, because it's about each one being a unique boss battle where like different bits of them come off, or different bits of them need to be wounded, and that changes their behavior in different ways each time.
Some of them do have wounding states. So when you take them down to a certain amount, they'll like break off pieces of their horn, stuff like that. It may interest you to know that I do run the Seattle Monster Hunter meetup. So
pop culture influence is kind of coming out here, I think.
Yeah, people in it, and we meet weekly, especially whenever there's a handheld generation. So I'm a big fan of that game. And this is a game about fighting dinosaurs and then ostensibly earning weapons that are based on those dinosaurs. So maybe if you liked that game, you'd like this one.
I think that's pretty much a slam dunk on that one. Yes, that's your core audience is going to be into that. I have a bunch of other questions about the setting and stuff, but I want to get to the chat, because there are some questions in chat. So Null asks, how would you pitch Fossilized? We've kind of topped a little bit of this, but maybe like in a nutshell, how would you pitch Fossilized Violence to seasoned wargamers, and how would you pitch it? That's part one. Part two is, how would you pitch it to people who have never played a war game?
So seasoned wargamers, I'd say it's a skirmish. Oh my, skirmish. It's a skirmish game in that the fights can be broken into hour-long combat chunks, and because of that, it gets a lot done in those times. It's also very variable as to what happens in those times. And seasoned, I feel like seasoned wargamers, they sometimes want a lighter fare, right? They sometimes want to play what's that one with the bolt action? Right?
Bolt action's relatively light rules-wise.
Bolt action's relatively light, instead of something where you're going to be running a morale check all the time. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between bolt action and, hey, let's do 12 game actions for every turn. So it's a way to keep us to play a skirmish game with more than two people, and keep it light and airy, and get to tell a bit of a story as well while you're going. So the format, I think, might be really exciting to wargamers. other than the gameplay, which I would always try to sell first. And what was the second half of that question?
The second half is, how do you pitch it to people who've never played a war game?
I would pitch it as a tabletop role-playing game to people who have never played a war game, because I know you work for Wargamer.com, but if they've never played a war game before, this is much more like a tabletop role-playing game than it is a war game. It takes a lot of the fun things about skirmish level war games, and it makes it a tabletop role-playing game. And war games are scary, and they scare people, I think.
As a war gamer of nearly 20 years, I agree. I want to move on to another question, but before that, I want to feel a bit more like I can see a game taking place, because there's the different descriptions we've had. On the one hand, you said more like a tabletop role-playing game than it is a war game. On the other hand, there's this idea of getting your dinosaur toys out. What is the physical reality of this game being played? Is it theater of the mind? Is it miniatures? Is it actually the toys? Do the toys get involved? Describe the physicality of the game.
Toys are actually on table. You actually put your dinosaur toys on the table. You move them around with your hands. What I mean is, you're moving distances with your palm. You put their front foot, the tip at the back of your palm, and you hop their back leg to the tip of your middle finger. So you're physically leapfrogging these toys around on the table in a space that the game says is made by the game master. So, like, get a bunch of towels and water bottles and put them on the table, and we're going to use them. We're going to imagine that they are an environment. They get a set time to do that, and that is part of the gameplay, because that's also role-playing time for the players. So it is about terrain, and it's about being physically there. It's not really a game that's going to be played to 100% online, and that's okay. And gameplay-wise, the idea of tactical touch is very important for this game. It's about physically playing with toys with your hands. Toward that end, people are supposed to be playing the game such that they never touch like a pen or a pencil. They're always touching dice. They're spinning down their health. They're rolling dice. Whenever you roll dice, you're never adding anything to the dice. The dice faces are all you're adding together. Because you're a caveman, and you should be playing this game with hands and rocks. And in order to make that happen, a whole lot of math had to be done with a pencil and a pen to make sure that you never have to do it again when you're playing.
There is some quite satisfying poetic symmetry to that. Yes.
Imagine a game that made you touch the table all the time while playing a tabletop role-playing game. It almost makes you feel like you're playing standing up. If you're sitting down while playing this game, it's because you have more than 4 people and you are waiting for your turn. But turn times are pretty short. I measured them out to about 40, 50 seconds. Because
you Warhammer 40,000, guys.
Refer back to their character sheet, refer back to there, unless they're getting a critical injury. So when other games say, hey, use this special move, read it. Okay, now do it. That adds 40 seconds of turn time. We try to only do that if the thing they're doing is awesome. Anyway, that is kind of... I don't know. Maybe that answers the question.
It totally answers the question. I asked you what the physicality of this game looked like, and you described it in great detail. You also sort of quite organically answered the question that was asked by Lord Jesus Crust. Every time I say Lord Jesus Crust, I cannot not laugh. So thanks for that, Jesus. You also organically answered their question, which was what brought upon the idea of hand-based movement. But the second part of that question is actually kind of funny. Before FV, did you use that in other games, and how did it go?
No, it was created for FV. FV is my first prototype that used it. and it worked so well with the dinosaur toys that I could not divorce it at all. FD started life as a game where everybody gets to be a barbarian, and I needed to find a villain that barbarians would want to fight, and then I'm like, it'd be dinosaurs.
Oh my god, I love that origin story for it.
Barbarians are now cavemen, and that was just the most natural segue I've ever had for a prototype. And then I was like, great, I can get really inspired by Monster Hunter, which I love.
I really love that origin story for it. One of my questions I was going to ask you was like, when did the idea first come about? Yeah, classic question. Like, when did you have the idea for that? I love that the idea was, what if everyone was barbarians? And then you just like let it roll from there, and dinosaurs just popped in your head.
They've devolved into cavemen over the development of the game. By the way, another cool thing about that from Barbarians is the idea that, and I think honestly this I'm talking about Shadowscar for a second while I'm at it. There are, in the general, when you're playing D&D, and a lot of us have, that's okay. I played a lot of D&D. We're in a better place now. But there are things that you can theoretically do in D&D, but you can't really do in D&D. Like Shadowscar, Cody Pondsmith's new game, just came out. Amazing. The coolest part about it is everyone has to be a ninja. And because of that, you can be a ninja. Because you can't be a ninja when someone else is a fighter in a full suit of plate armor. You cannot do your job if someone else is around there clanging around. Similarly, if you're a barbarian, and you've played a barbarian in D&D, which I have for many years, by the way, you can't be a barbarian if there's a wizard running around your party, right? Like, the whole point of being a barbarian is to be a barbarian, and there's some other guy just not being a barbarian near you. In a Conan the Barbarian comic, you would smash his skull, move on, and go fight as a mercenary in another war, right? But you can't do that in D&D. So, in Fossilized Violence, everybody has to be a caveman. Cavewoman, whatever. And because of that, you can be. D&D is not good at everything. And it's not good at telling stories that require coordination between players to do. Anyway, for some reason, everyone feels like they can't play the same class in D&D, and thus we can't tell some stories, and we're going to tell those in Fossilized Violence. Also, go by Shadowscar. It's really, really good.
It is. It's very, very cool.
The best ninja game ever made.
So I'm just looking at some of the cool questions coming in. Really good one from Universaurus Rex, which, by the way, is also a fantastic name. If we can't increase our stat die or HP, how do you do progression?
Great. So progression is done via gear. So each character you play will grow old as you play them. They'll get renown, and eventually they'll become an elder. When they become an elder, they retire in a village you choose on the map and become a part of that community. And you get to choose how they retire, which gives you a huge stat boost. Not to your stats, but to like they'll straight up improve some items permanently, or they'll make certain types of travel capable. Like, until somebody decides, okay, my character is old enough and they have enough renown that they can retire. They have to retire. I'm going to make them a shipwright. Ocean travel isn't safe, but until someone retires that. So basically, progression is done on the civilization level. When someone invents the mega bow, everyone's character can then take the mega bow up to their equipment load, which is of course our limiting factor for like build stuff. So you don't get to bring every weapon with you. No one expected you to. So essentially, it's done in a roguelike unlock way, and you want to have your character survive long enough to become a elder. By the way, if you're in a losing battle in Fossilized Violence, you can run, and you probably should, to save those characters from dying. Or else the dinosaurs will just slaughter them all. This is not a game where everything that you fight you're expected to kill immediately. Things can go poorly. The dinosaurs can roll a couple of super critical injuries, and now they all have, maxed stats or something. They maxed their attack stat after they did one of the crits. They went back to full health after having 2 health, and you guys are weakened, and it's either stay in and risk it for the biscuit, right? Or let's all run off the side of the map.
And if you do decide to book it, right? Like you've had enough. So Johnny's leg's broken. We're not going to make it. What happens? Does that battle reset and you all just immediately heal? Because I'm interested in what persistent sort of role play or like stuff is going on outside of the battles. What happens afterwards if you run away?
Persistent criticals exist in game, and those won't heal until you go back to a settlement, or you have someone run a brain check, because the skills are based on parts of the body. So brain, arms, legs, because you're a caveman.
I really like this. You're a barbarian, yeah.
Hands for like fine motor tasks. So you can try to fix it in the field with one of those. The rules in Fossilized Violence are, if anyone fails a check, no one can succeed that check for the rest of the day. The rest of the game session. So if you can't fix Fred's gaping wound, Fred will have that gaping wound for the rest of the session or until they go to a settlement. So you got to run back to the village most of the time. Also, broken weapons, repairing some of them is bending them back, which is like an arms check, I think, to fix a bow or one. And if you can't, you have to go back to a settlement and get another one. Luckily, there are settlements all over the map. By the way, the map of this game is totally functional. Let me flip to it. Where are you, functional map? In the middle of the book, which I cannot easily flop to because you are a manuscript and not a book.
Sorry, it's giving me time to catch up on all the good questions that are coming through, because there's some good stuff.
So yeah, you're unlocking new items. That's how you're progressing. You were talking about persistent damage. Yes, you heal your damage, by the way. And you also lose the violence points that you got. Violence points they go away at the end of combat. So you can't stockpile. Because nobody likes that.
No, that
nobody
wouldn't make much sense.
Drink,
It wouldn't make much sense in D&D if a barbarian could just be like, okay, I've still got 10 of rage, but I'll just bank that and get an extra one next time. That's not how rage works.
That's an investment. Yeah, that's not a... Boom!
We got it, folks. Do you know what I love most about this map? The first thing it made me think of was theme park maps, and that's such a good vibe for this.
So this map is by Kyle Latino, aka Map Crow on YouTube. It's like my favorite D&D YouTuber. So shout out to Kyle. And the cool part about it is that it's a functional map. So you'll literally go from location to location via arrows. The locations have a different amount of stars, and that tells you how dangerous that place is. So some areas. The Taiga of Teeth is not a happy place that you want to be in, but you have to go through there to get to several places next to it. And the map is such designed that you might have to go through a 2-star or 3-star area to get from one terrain-ish zone of the map to another. And each of the 4 terrain idea areas there's a big jungle called the Great Jungle. There's a great desert. There's a great tundra, and there's a great volcano. Each of those ideas, there are easier ways to get from the zones within those zones that can kind of unlock after you, for example, you can discover a tunnel that moves you from here to there. And then, now that you know about the tunnel, all of future characters that you play as can use the tunnel. So it's not just unlocks for the characters, it's also unlocks for the world, traversal, etc. So even though you're not leveling up, your civilization itself is leveling up.
The description of progression as a civilization rather than progression as characters is really interesting. We've clearly got some fans of it already in the chat. We're getting a really good picture of how the game comes together now. There's some really good questions that's going to pull out some more bits of it. I really like Go's question. Are battles exclusively hunts, i.e. trying to kill a dinosaur, or will there be other types of scenarios like protecting something, fleeing, or stealing an egg? I really like stealing an egg.
There is get an object, get out. Something I didn't mention is called the escape timer. The escape timer is rolled, has a rolled duration, and ticks down every round. And at the end of that round, at the end of the escape timer, escape becomes possible for you and the dinosaurs. So that means, so there's an area, for example, it has a big T-Rex in it named King. He's on the cover. He's big and he's bad. And by the way, this art was done by Bob Eggleton, who you might know from Godzilla. Godzilla movie poster guy. And he did a bunch of the Godzilla comics. So we were so happy to get him. Keep mentioning.
Piece.
So of course we only get him for one piece. And we gotta get him for the cover. It has to be, what is the biggest, baddest dinosaur? And that is King. And if you go through you can technically get to one side of the jungle to the marshy side of the jungle really fast if you go through this place. But if you go through there and you start a combat, whenever the escape timer ticks down, you roll another die to determine if he shows up. And if he shows up, you're not fighting him. Good luck fighting a T-Rex. T-Rexes in this game have max stats and a huge amount of health. And their critical injuries just basically kill you, but not like a Cthulhu kills 1d6 adventures per turn way. In a very painful, slow manner that is really fast at times. In a very cool, fun way that will become really fun once you're ready to fight a T-Rex. But unless you've played the game for like a good campaign length, fighting a T-Rex is about waiting for the escape timer to go down and leaving as fast as possible.
I get the feeling that was a design decision made very early on based on like the logic of just cuz T-Rex. Because
T-Rex. So are there other mission types? Yes. Most of the mission types try to break away from fight dinosaur, kill dinosaur, move on. There are a lot of them though, because that's fun. But I try to, in each zone, have a sprinkling of you're trying to collect these herbs and then leave after the escape timer. Egg delivery stuff. There's like one quest I have where a player can't do something because they're trying to do something else. That one involves a tiny shark suit. And I won't spoil it too much. But it is in the desert. The Ocean Kings have devised a new way to kill a megalodon by pretending to be a baby megalodon in distress, and one player gets to pretend to be a baby megalodon instead of fight until they're discovered to not be a baby megalodon, at which time it's ton fight.
I was not expecting Baby Shark to come up
Yeah.
in this, but it has, and we all have to live with that now. Superb.
There's a lot of trying to kill dinosaurs before they run away, as well. It's not always you trying to run; they're trying to kill you. I didn't mention the variability aspect of it. I believe there are. So on Pangeon, sort of the meta plot is that dinosaurs are evolving. So in addition to the game's 25 dinosaurs, there are 50 different evolutions they can have. So those evolutions are like bladed and volcanic and stuff. Do they have a volcano on their back that keeps going off? Can they shoot a giant laser beam? And because of this, we're trying to... also, the cavemen don't understand what evolution means, and it's kind of there as a funny joke. And they interpret it as germ theory the whole time. They think evolution spread like diseases. And they, for some reason, know the word evolution because the game is slightly silly and slightly serious at the same time. The cavemen take what they're saying deadly serious, but what they're saying is very stupid. Because I feel like that's the dissonance that is cavemen. Whenever somebody in one of the... By the way, there are a bunch of like one-page short fictions in here about the world set from the characters. And whenever they say something that could be slightly profound, right after it, they say the stupidest thing you've ever heard.
The sense of humor married up to this kind of half super violent, ultra violent kind of combat game, half quite humorous, cartoony vibe, it's kind of... I don't know. It's not a combo I've seen in this sort of RPG for a little while. It's cool. Go ask.
It's totally serious when you're fighting dinosaurs as cavemen, so it's a recognition of the reality of the situation most of the time.
To be fair, I did promise people in the announcement article for this that you would address the obvious, like, Gallimimus in the room of, like, we didn't fight dinosaurs. That's part of the point of this idea, is that it lets us. So we got that out of the way very early.
Right.
Human on human violence. Go asks, is there any human on human violence planned, or is that not part of this game?
So we'll get into more of the meta plot. What happened was there was a evolution outbreak. And the very first one that was the most dangerous evolution outbreak, and the reason why all of humanity has banded together in peace for the game, is that the carnivore evolution went completely everywhere on the world of Pangeon, and now all dinosaurs eat meat on Pangeon. So it gives us a reason to have rampaging, tree star loving brachiosauruses. Get a taste for flesh, human flesh in particular. And because of that, all of these 4 cave civilizations, which are the Volcano Men, the Thick Sea, the Ocean Kings, and the Heartlanders, all of them kind of had to band together because they lost half of their food sources in a night. And then they signed a Pangeon Peace Pact. I have the speech that they gave at that summit. I'll read it out to you. I will not yell. I will say when there are yells. Yell. The dinosaurs of Pangeon are changing. We must change. We must be deadlier. We must be allies. We must fight. Yell. Together. Fight together. Yell. As warriors. Warriors of Pangeon, yell. Pangeon. That's the entire speech, as remembered from the signing of the Pangeon Peace Pact of High Temple. The speaker is unknown.
Speaker on. Just one of us said that, probably.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's unknown because there was a lot of feasting and drinking afterwards, and everybody forgot.
This is to be expected.
And that's like the grandpa, and you play the... There's been a generation after that, and the generation after that is one you're a part of.
Understood.
So when there's ancient technology being discovered, like how better to attach a spear tip to a rock, it's usually like great-grandfather, grandfather. My grandmother figured out how to make a fishing pole that was slightly better. Harpoon. That's what I meant. And they get discovered by finding old cave paintings sometimes. No one has a very good grasp of their own history in this book, in a very funny way.
Well, I feel like this is one of the few truly historically accurate things about this setting, is that no writing exists.
There's cave painting.
Yeah. There's so many good questions, and we're running out of time, so I'm going to try and go a bit quick fire on these. How many fights do we expect before becoming an elder, and how many fights fit in one game night?
So fights fit in one game night. I say you could probably get 3-4. And fights before becoming an elder, standard dinosaur fights aren't worth very much, but dinosaur fights that solve either a regional quest or a settlement quest are worth much more. So basically, you become an elder as you unlock new stuff without dying. If you unlock enough new stuff without a death, you get a bonus unlock. Pacing wise, also depends on the fight, and depends on if you run after like the third turn, which is actually really short. That actually shortens the fight. I'd say that number is average for a like second setting game. I know the stats on how much people actually play one tabletop role playing game before maybe wandering on to the other. After your third session, the turn time is probably much more short. And I will say, if you are playing, this game supports 2-player and 1-player table sizes with unique rules for those smaller group sizes to keep everything balanced. When you play 2-player mode, that's 2 players and 1 GM. You can the players have the ability to guard each other much more flawlessly. It's much more Gears of War, if you will, style co-op. And when you play 1 player, you get a ridiculous boost to stats such that you can kill a T-Rex by yourself. If you're only 1 player and they're still asking you to do these quests, they're asking you because you're Conan.
Yeah. That's kind of a narratively satisfying way to deal with how to make solo play work for this, because you just have to be a superhero or it doesn't make any sense.
And it's a different game at 1 player, but I also traditionally got into role-playing games to play with my little brother, who's on the spectrum. He's a super cool guy. He's my number 1 playtester. And so that 1-player mode is a reflection of everything I've learned playing with him over 10, 15 years. I promise that 1-player mode is not just a throwaway paragraph. It has serious testing.
I'm really interested in that. And that's a really cool story. I think solo modes in RPGs are always developmentally difficult, like rules-wise difficult to balance.
Yeah.
But also often the result of that is that like they're just chucked in as a marketing effort, So
This is not that. This is not that. I will say the game plays best at 3. At 4, it's also good. It's good at 3 and 4. At 2, it has its own unique flavor, and at 1, it has its own unique flavor. 5-player party, you start getting into the like somebody sitting down when they should be standing up. It's hard to sustain. People have to be on their game, essentially. 5 players is okay after everyone's played 3 times.
Yeah. I tried to start doing quickfire, but the answers are too cool, and now there's only 7 minutes left, so I'm going to go proper fast now. Can dinosaurs have more than one evolution?
Yes.
Great. I mean, we had a description of some of the different evolutions before. Imagine a dinosaur can have 2 or 3 of them. They can be bladed and volcanic, say.
Yeah.
While he's looking up that one...
No, hit me.
Okay.
Keep going.
Is there a loot and craft system using dino bones to create gear?
There's no craft system, but there is a loot system. And the loot is unlocks that takes the place of crafting. Basically, instead of crafting the gear, you just unlock it.
You get the stuff, and
so
off-screen,
functionally the same.
Off-screen, you and your community turned those bits of that dead dinosaur into a new design, and that design is now available to the whole civilization to craft new shoulder pads. Right?
Yes.
That's the vibe.
So I'm going to list out some of the evolutions. I'll go down the list. Afflicted, Ancient, Apocalypse, Aquatic, Armored, Berserk, Bioelectric, Bladed, Blooming, Burning Claw, Clever, Commander, Corrupted, Crystal, Elder, Cryothermic, I think. I can't read the first of it. No, it's Endothermic. Endothermic, because it's E. Endothermic, Exothermic, Fire Breather, Friendly, Frilled, Frost Breather, Burning Claw, Frozen Claw, Furious, Ghastly, Horde, Intelligent, Life Drinker, Luminescent, Mighty, Mimicking, Mist. There, I'm halfway through. Almost.
So there are a lot of different, mutations, essentially, that these dinosaurs can get. I'm going to skip to another question by Go, because it connects directly to that one. Are there any magic or weird evolutions for humans eventually?
There is a lore reason why the people that live in the tundra can wear less clothes than the people that don't live there. It's because they drink from a pool called the Pool of Mystery. But all the Pool of Mystery does is enable you to survive lower temperatures. However, not when you're wet. If you get water on you, you still feel the cold like everyone else. So all of the thick sea people, wear clothing that keeps the water off them, even though they're in the snow. Additionally, it makes some of them get wrinkles like they're old when they're young. That is the only sort of like human evolution bit there. And as to why that happens, that is a lore thing that you discover as you play. And by the way, when you play, you get to choose which cave civilization you're a part of. You get different starting equipment based on which cave civilization you're a part of. And then there's base equipment that everyone can access. So your campaign is different depending on which tribe you all choose to be from. By the way, everyone has to be from the same tribe. That way, you're progressing that tribe as a family unit.
Makes sense. That does connect to another question, which is there room for character backgrounds?
Yes. There should be. And by the way, after you retire, your character does not go away and poof and become a bonus to everyone. Every time you're back in that town, the game master can make you reprise your old characters, but as an old person. And you can become the new quest givers for some of those quests in those settlements.
I do always really enjoy mechanics in RPGs that bring previous characters, sometimes previous NPCs, but especially previous PCs back in to both story and action. It's just fun. It ties things together in a nice way.
Both in a story way and in a mechanical way. The game is concerned with the persistence of the world.
Speaking of, can you have kids that are your next characters?
Yeah, sure.
Nice. Straight up.
I mean, there's no mechanics section. I'll do that, but
sorry, say that when I was speaking.
Story-wise, yeah.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, if your original character's retiring, what better way than to have their legacy reproduced by their children? Universaurus Rex. Sorry.
Do that setting, they are very likely to die. So,
yeah, there is that. Well, if at first you don't succeed. Universaurus Rex asks, how do you defend each other?
You use the defend other fossilized move. And that lets you sort of like intersperse in between. By the way, you can fail to do so, in which case you become the new target and it automatically hits you. So you can always jump in front of the bullet, but you're rolling to see if you can jump in front of it and block.
Yeah.
And when you have 20 health getting hit, when you have about 7 health remaining, kind of death sentencing. By the way, whenever you would hit 0, you get to roll to see if you survive with 1. It's called Grit Your Teeth.
I get a little Hail Mary.
It's an area that you roll a lot. I'll put it that way.
We've got like literally a couple more minutes. This is Universaurus Rex's question is quite good because they come up a couple of times, but I don't think we quite covered them in the first place. In a couple of sentences, fossilized moves. What are they in the context of like the regular actions and the other things? What do fossilized moves do?
Right. So fossilized moves let you do things like I want to get on its back. I want to plunge my weapon into its hide. I want to use the environment. I want to fling this tree back and hit it in the face. I want to find a weak point on my enemy. I want to draw the attention of an enemy. I want to make a battle cry. I want to be reckless, which is a fun one, which is I think this dinosaur is about to die, and I want to bet on it. And that says I want my turn right now, not in the turn order. I want it early. And as a price, I'm going to get hit really hard if I get hit. Before then, I want to charge. So it's the stuff that anything that you can think of a caveman wanting to do in a combat that isn't like I'm going to attack it is probably a fossilized move or near one.
Do you spend violence points to do that?
No.
Or they generate violence points by doing it?
Violence points.
So by the way, they cost to do that over a regular attack?
Yes. It's more risky to do it because if you fail one of those moves, there's a special downside, which might be you don't get the D4 of fate until your next turn, which means that I'm sorry. Been talking for an hour. Which means that when you defend, you don't have that D4 exploding you up a little bit, which means the enemy is more likely to be 5 over than you and critically injure you, or 10 over than you and get one of those monstrous super critical injuries.
This makes perfect sense. James, we have used all the time we've got. The last question that I must ask you is, this is a book. It's a book that you're going to sell. Mm-hmm. When is it coming out? Where can people get it?
February. That's what I've been told to say.
This is a question that I'm going to get in trouble with Rob for, but okay. It's coming out February. People can get it on the Artalsaurian store.
Artalsaurian store, game stores, hopefully nationwide. Game stores, the ones that wanted to buy the initial print run on release day, will have it in February. Otherwise, I would very much like you to go to your game store and say, where is it? You know what I mean? Where is it? I see you sold your Fossilized Violence already. Or when are you reordering? That's the best way to do it.
We always recommend going to your local game store.
You should probably reorder from artalsauriangames.com, where you could sign up for a retail account, is what you should probably say.
Excellent marketing going on here.
But also, it will be out as PDF as well. I will say the physical book will be beautiful and glorious and has end papers on both sides. I'm hoping that will give you a really easy way to pull open into the world. And the last few pages have all of the tables players use, as well as all those fossilized moves, to make the last few pages a very easy reference for table, because I hate long turns in tabletop role-playing games. That's kind of my personal crusade, is to make everyone's role-playing game turn shorter and still the same amount of fun.
Amazing.
Anyway, so February.
Well, I went into this knowing a little bit about the game, knowing that it was a strange sort of hybrid from my perspective as someone who mainly plays kind of like very OSR-y role-playing games or Warhammer 40,000, and not most of the time I don't do much in between. This is a completely different thing. We've gone through in so much detail exactly how it works and what's different and new about it. I think it sounds really cool. Everybody, thank you so much for coming along. I hope you've had a great time and learned lots of cool stuff about the game from James. James, thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming once again. Hopefully we'll see you again very soon. We do these all the time. So everyone in the audience, hopefully we'll see you at the next one. And have a brilliant rest of your week, everybody.